Back in early 2021, I joined with a journalist called The Great Resignation and voluntarily quit my full-time job as an engineer.
Some have called it the Great Resignation.
Over 20 million people quit their jobs in the second half of 2021.
For millions of workers and businesses, the Great Resignation is a period that could define the future of American labor. This is how we got to this point.
I didn't quit my job because I hated it or I had a terrible boss. It was actually quite the opposite. I thoroughly enjoyed my job. I looked forward to going to work every day, but the decision to leave my job was a result of me committing full time to my online businesses. I always wanted to start my own business for as long as I can remember, and I saw this as an opportunity to take a chance. Now, starting a business and working for yourself, it may seem like it's the ultimate goal when it comes to owning your career, but it's actually, not as rewarding as one might think. Over the past year, I've reflected on my decision, how it ended up affecting my life both positively and negatively, and the life lessons that came along with it. Today, I want to share with you my journey throughout all of this, and some of the profound life lessons that I've experienced. If you are in a similar situation and you're considering leaving your job, then I know that you'll appreciate all of these life lessons that I'm about to share with you all that much more. So let's get started. When I first started my job, I recall a meeting that I had with a couple of colleagues who had been with the company for years upon years. The ones who always had something pessimistic to say about the coffee, the job they'd been doing for 25 years, and always the weather. It was during my first month of work, and I had a lot of ambition to do well at this point. And needless to say, I wore my excitement right on my face, and they quickly picked up on that. During that meeting, one of them asked me if I truly enjoyed my job since I've been there for about a month at this point. Now, it seemed like a genuine question, so I answered with a genuine yes. The colleague of mine said with a sarcastic chuckle, "Good, because you'll be doing this for the rest of your life." See, I didn't know it at that moment, but this fact of life subconsciously lingered in my head for days, weeks, and even months to come. The more that I thought about it, the more that reality began to sink in. Believe it or not, we spend nearly 1/3 of our adult life at our job working. That's over 90,000 hours of your life spent at the office or in your work environment. Let me put this more blunt. 1/3 of your life spent doing something you either enjoy or something you dread. After quitting my job, this moment right here taught me my first life lesson about the work environment. And that first life lesson was that life is way too short to spend 1/3 of your life doing something that's unfulfilling.
So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up.
Now, I know that I said I enjoyed my job, and honestly, I did, but it never gave me that sense of fulfillment like when I worked on my own businesses in my free time. Ask yourself, does your current job provide you any sense of enjoyment and fulfillment? What type of work provides you that sense of fulfillment while providing you income? I stand by this today. I would much rather take a pay cut to spend 1/3 of my life, my adult life, doing something that gave me fulfillment and something that I enjoyed, rather than just working for a paycheck at the expense of my happiness. And after all, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. The next 2 life lessons came just months before I chose to actually quit my job. These were times of stress and anxiety because I was facing my biggest fear head on, and that was uncertainty. I constantly had these 2 questions racing around through my mind. The first was, what if I end up failing my business? Now, the reason why I had this question racing around through my mind is because I am the type of person to make a plan for a plan. I had to know what was coming next, that way I could be prepared. And over time, it grew into actually a negative characteristic of mine, and that's trying to be in control of everything. Quitting my job was the ultimate challenge as I was deliberately putting myself in a constant state of uncertainty and lack of control. I learned that I had to accept this level of uncertainty, and not just the uncertainty that's in my business or lack thereof of what's to come. I had to accept this for every aspect of life. I came to terms that we do not know when life is going to just smack us in the face or when our last breath will be. What we do know is that some things are out of our control, and what's important is how we react to those situations. There is nothing certain but the uncertain. Now, the second type of question is one that I'm sure that you can relate to, and those were two questions racing through my mind during this time, and that was, is this the right time? Or, maybe I should just wait until next year to do this. Even when I was so sure and almost at the step of quitting my job, there was always something that prevented me from taking action. We do this all the time in our lives, and we optimistically think that the right moment is just going to fall out of the sky and tell us to take action. Let me be the last person to tell you this, hopefully. There is never going to be that right time. Now, I understand that this is much easier said than done, and to be honest, I am not entirely sure what that final straw was that made me take action. However, I know now a major reason for me to take that step was around my goal setting. I used to formulate goals in my head that usually start out with something like, I want to. It wasn't until I started converting these goals that started with I want to into ones that started with I have to. It was so much easier to take action then. So let's try it out. Which goal would you chase after? I want to quit my job so I can start my business. I have to start my business so I can quit my job. By far, the best way to flip your mindset and to convert your goals from the I want to the I have tos is to clearly define your purpose, your why, and use that as true motivation. This applies to all principles of life, and knowing your identity and your purpose will make taking action all that much easier and make the right time every time. The last life lesson that I want to share with you is around defining who you are and your life. Take a second and recall the last time that you had to introduce yourself to somebody new. It usually starts off with something like, hi, I am so-and-so, and I'm the manager at XYZ company. See, too often we let our occupation and what we want others to see in us define who we believe ourselves to be. The scary thing is, this mentality right here can lead you down a path that isn't true to yourself, and that's exactly what happened to me. If you've ever seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix, you know of the dangerous impacts that social media can have on us as a generation. Researchers are finding that this generation right here is more anxious and more depressed than any generation before us. We are all posting our highlight reel of life in an effort to glamorize our lives, not to ourselves, but to others. People who we barely even associate ourselves with can sometimes influence our decisions more than the ones closest to you or even yourself.
This is changing our sense of identity. We are tying up our self-worth with what others think about us, and then we're quantifying it for everyone to see. And we're obsessed.
I used to be so focused on how I wanted others to see me, and that led to me defining my life that wasn't true to myself. See, I wasn't asking myself what truly made me happy, like my career choices. It wasn't until I stopped using social media on a daily basis and I started reflecting more on truly what did I want out of my life, like my career choices, instead of thinking about, what would people see me as if I chose to do this. The result led me down a path I would have never imagined, but it's been one of the best decisions that I've made because it's true to me. The most powerful force in the human mind by far is how we define ourselves to ourselves. So focus on defining what makes you happy and use that in your decisions like your career choice. If I had the opportunity to meet my future self and ask him one question 10, 25, or even 50 years down the road, I would ask this one question. Are you happy? At the end of our lifetime, it doesn't matter if we're the richest man or woman in the graveyard or the most liked by our peers. All that truly matters is how happy we were during our time on Earth and the impact that we left. See, I always had the fear that I wouldn't be true to myself when it came to major life decisions like my career. Quitting my job helped me realize the importance of how our career factors into every aspect of our lives, our well-being, happiness, fulfillment, and relationships. Take these life lessons with you, be true to yourself, and all of your decisions will be the right ones.